You in the studio to look back on the second leg semi between Liverpool and Villarreal. Liverpool are through to the Champions League final, but there was a major scare in the first half when they went 2 goals down without reply. They turned it around in the second, scoring 3, and Luis Diaz's introduction into the game really did turn things around. Liverpool progressed 5-2 on aggregate, and the quadruple is very much still on. We have a whole host of people here tonight to talk about what we saw. We have Frank Leboeuf, Alejandro Moreno and Don Hutchison as well. But let's start with you, Craig. I mean, congratulations to Liverpool, but Villarreal did warn that they would be different at home, and we did see that.
Completely different side. That was the Villarreal that we know and we've seen at times in La Liga this season, particularly at home. But Liverpool, you know, were the architects of their own downfall in some sense, because you know, Klopp talked about it after, the players talked. I've heard Van Dijk been interviewed, Mo Salah been interviewed. They all said we knew it was coming. We were warned, we were prepared, we weren't complacent, but we just didn't perform as a team. And you know, with Capoue making great runs, with Lo Celso coming off the right-hand side causing problems, Estupiñán down the left side, and when those crosses were coming in, that back four was shaking, particularly the fullbacks. Who got exposed on a couple of occasions. So yeah, it was a fascinating first 45 minutes, and fair play to Villarreal. And
some fascinating insight after that first half of action, Don, as to what Jurgen Klopp had to say to his players.
Yeah, very interesting, Kay. That he got asked the question after the game, what did you say at half-time? And he said, you know, he asked his analyst guy to show one passage of play in the first half that was good, so you can then give them a little bit of confidence and show them at half-time. And the analysis guy just turned around and went, there's not one. We were terrible. And I think, bizarrely, the thing that done it for Villarreal was scoring that second goal just before half-time, even though, of course, you want to score the goal and you want to go into half-time with a 2-0 lead. I think if they had gone in at 1, Liverpool's team talk might have been slightly different. They might not put Diaz on. They might not have been as hectic and as sort of desperate. But I've got to say, credit Villarreal. I thought the first opening part of the game, first 20 minutes, they score inside 3. They put you on the back foot, intimidating little atmosphere. The crowd played their part for sure. Liverpool's possession stats in the first half was their lowest since 2019. They couldn't keep the ball. Thiago was giving it away. They had nothing going at the top end of the pitch, and they needed half-time like you wouldn't believe. So much better in the second half. And the obvious substitution was Diaz, and he had a massive role to play in the game. He was incredible second half.
It really did make the difference, didn't he, Ale? Luis Diaz and his introduction.
Of course he did. And there was life to Liverpool that they did not have in the first half. You just see a player, when you give him the ball, he's going to be direct. He's going to go challenge defenders. He's going to go take chances. He's going to create for himself. He's going to create for others. And you were not seeing any of that from Liverpool. And to the point that Don was just making, not only were the turnovers happening for Thiago, they were happening for Naby Keita as well. So they did not have any sort of possession of the ball in that first half to then be able to expose 1v1 situations in transition. The second half was far different. Of course, the introduction of Luis Diaz plays a part into that. I thought he was a difference maker, but I also think that it plays a part the posture of Villarreal, who decided to sit back. They looked like the Villarreal from the first leg rather than the first half. Now, I understand that it's physically impossible to maintain that pace that they had in the first 45 minutes. But you can keep it for 60 minutes, you can keep it for 70, you got to keep it for as long as you possibly can, because you had Liverpool running all over the place, you had Liverpool down, you had Liverpool afraid and scared, and they couldn't come out. You had Liverpool in your hands. And while I know, I concede that Liverpool got better and improved in the second half, I also think that it has to do with the fact that Villarreal sat deeper and deeper and deeper, and then Liverpool just became too much. Luis Diaz was excellent, and then after that, Liverpool took over.
But with the utmost respect to Villarreal, Frank, was it always going to be too big a mountain to climb to overcome them, especially this Liverpool, knowing the quality that they have?
Yeah, but I mean, you have to believe that playing 11 against 11, that maybe you can climb that mountain and be successful. That you have to believe on what you're going to be capable of doing. And for 45 minutes, I think they did more than than good. They were absolutely fantastic. But there is two pictures that I want to see from the when I want to remember from the first half. Is at the end of the first half we see a picture of Coquelin and Lo Celso sweating like crazy. Where I saw at the same time, just after a picture of Van Dijk and Fabinho not sweating at all. And I say, well, that's two different, pictures of one team giving everything, physically giving 100% and maybe too much. It's why maybe they decided to drop in the second half, as Ale just mentioned. And another team, we did nothing, just being completely passive and starting to play in the second half. That was appalling from Liverpool. It's the reason why maybe Villarreal was so good. But I think credit to Villarreal players. They gave what they had to give, and have been sanctioned in the second half because of the physical aspect of the game, where maybe they gave too much.
I tell you who was sweating, the analysis people at Liverpool, after their gaffer had asked them for a pause. It's a great line, isn't it? Because Jurgen Klopp said, as Don mentioned, he said it was so obvious where we were poor in every facet. And when he turned to the analysis people, he said, find me something good. They must have been thinking, what a job this is. You're not going to find something good for half time. But I think this and Klopp said, nothing. So he can go into the dressing room and say, hey guys. But I think in some ways this is good for Liverpool, because they've been on such a good run, and still are. They've been playing great. They've been brushing most teams aside. But they've come through this unscathed after that first half. And I think for a manager, that's a good reminder to his players that even when you are the quality of some of these Liverpool players, a performance like that, the chances are you're going to get punished. They're not good enough. Even them, those players are not good enough to play like that and win against the real top teams. Only because Villarreal are 7th in the league. Another team would have put them to bed probably. A Real Madrid in the final, if it's Real Madrid or Man City, they play like that for 45, it's probably 4 or 5-0. So I think this is a good reminder that even when they're 20%, 30% under their usual, they're probably going to get punished. So sometimes it's good to get that reminder. Second half, passed the ball, kept possession, got behind the lines, got behind the Villarreal midfield, and then they got turned at that back four, and that was the old Liverpool that we knew. But I tell you, that first half, I just thought, the only thing was, watching it, you thought, right, this is going terribly for Liverpool.
Pep and Carlo Ancelotti, after the game tomorrow night, will do their analysis on Liverpool, and they'll watch a million games, but they'll watch that first half that they played against Villarreal, and they'll realise, if they already didn't know it before, that Liverpool's fullbacks are brilliant going forward, but they are a little bit they are susceptible defensively. We saw that with Trent for the second goal for sure. But it's one of them, as Craig said, especially when the elite teams and you're playing in the Champions League at an elite level in a final, if you're off it, you can be punished and you might not come back from 2-0 down. So massive wake-up call.
As for Villarreal, Ale, in this one, what can they take away from it? Pride after this?
I suppose so. If you believe in moral victories, yeah, go ahead and do that. I just think, really, where this game was, it was more of a wasted opportunity for Villarreal to further the suffering, and this is the word that Unai Emery used leading up to this game, suffering of Liverpool in this second leg. And I think there was a chance here to continue to play the way that they were playing in the first half up until their legs went. And once their legs went, then you hang on for as long as you possibly can. You make some substitutions. You try to keep Liverpool down. So to me, the halftime could not have come at a worse time for Villarreal. Villarreal were in full control, and they were outdoing Liverpool in the things that they usually do well. They were doing to Liverpool what Liverpool usually does to other teams. They were squeezing the life out of Liverpool. Halftime comes, and I have to imagine that gave some time for the worst thing that could happen, and that is for Unai Emery to think a little bit, to think to the point of overthinking and say, you know what's going to be a good idea? since we cannot keep this up, we're just going to sit back and we're going to look like we looked in the first leg. And then we're going to catch them on the counter. And the more that you invited Liverpool and you gave freedom to Thiago Alcantara to move the ball, and you gave freedom to some of the other players to move the ball, and then Luis Diaz brings a different energy, you allowed Liverpool to have a life that they did not have. Halftime came at the worst time possible for Villarreal, and I think the fans will be happy in terms of, look, we really gave a good account of ourselves. We are going to be proud of Villarreal. I look at it from the perspective of an opportunity wasted because you had Liverpool on the ropes and you let them slip away.
Just going back to half-time and a change for Liverpool and going back to Luis Diaz, Frank, coming on for Diogo Jota, did he just let his coach know that he should be starting in the final?
I'm not sure I understood your question, Kay. I'm sorry.
Should Luis Diaz start in the final after his performance today?
You don't know that if it would have been a very good idea from Luis Diaz to start. I mean, the fact that he came on and speed up the game, pace up the game, and change the rhythm of everybody, and created dangers because of the Villarreal players were a little bit tired as well at the same time. You don't know what would have happened, if he would have started. That's a question it's impossible to answer. Maybe Diogo Jota tired the players. Maybe Luis Diaz came on and changed the pace because of the fake rhythm of the Liverpool team. I think it's also a lesson for Liverpool who can get out of that game, is that in fact if Liverpool doesn't play 100% with the high pressure, with the high rhythm, they're not the best team. They're not there's not the best team in the world. And Luis Diaz showed the way to start again and to be better as Liverpool is normally, because it's the pace that they need to be different than other teams and to be successful. I don't know if Luis Diaz playing at the beginning would have changed something at the fake rhythm that they had for 45 minutes.
I don't think today's game has changed anything. I think Jurgen Klopp already knows that his best front three at the moment is Diaz, Mane and Salah. I think it was an opportunity to give Diaz a rest, being 2-0 up. I think it was an opportunity to play Diogo Jota with Villarreal playing a higher line and a pressing game to run in behind, which he likes to do, and come from late and score goals. But it just wasn't happening for Liverpool. So, I think Klopp already, I think if it was a Champions League final, I think if that had been a Champions League final today, the front three would have been Diaz, Mane and Salah. I think he's just able to rotate, and he felt with the circumstances, and by the way, Jota's a damn good player and gets his quota of goals, that was the best way to go. Of course, he had to make the changes to try and get Diaz to take the ball in, to put Foyt under a bit of pressure, and to start running at that back four. The one worrying thing out of a couple of big games they've played recently was the press from Villarreal they didn't handle very well. The high pressing game at the Etihad against Man City in the first half, they didn't handle it very well at all, Liverpool. They got a result, but didn't handle it very well. And I'm kind of thinking from their perspective that Real Madrid, for sure, would be a better suitor for them in the final. A different dynamic. They're not going to press you the same. They're not going to harass you the same, but they are going to come at you in a different way. But recently, when two teams in big games have pressed Liverpool early, they've really struggled in the first 45 minutes, or certainly in the City game in the first half an hour.
And they might feel like they've got a score to settle if it is Real Madrid in the final.
Well, Mo Salah said that after the game. He was interviewed by our colleagues at BT Sport, and nobody had said, all the players had said, oh, I'm not bothered, oh, we'll take anybody. But then Mo Salah came out and he says, actually, I want to play Madrid. And I don't know if it's because City thinks City are a better team, and also redemption for the final a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the quadruple odds are all still on. That is Jurgen Klopp making it to the League Cup final, the FA Cup final, and now the Champions League final. Will it come back like that today, Don? Help them in that plight?
I don't think so, Kay. I just think what it showed to the world and it showed to everyone is that Liverpool have got quality, but also they've got a big heart and they've got loads of bottle. This is the furthest anyone's ever been in terms of the quadruple. So they are breaking records all over the place. I think they'll beat Chelsea in the final. I think they'll add the FA Cup. The league's the hard one, obviously being a point behind City, because both teams are that good. They could win every single game. As Craig said, I think if you asked Jurgen Klopp, not on the microphone because he wouldn't give you an honest answer. And I think if you asked Liverpool fans, Liverpool players who they want in the final, it would be Real Madrid because there's nothing between City and Liverpool. The margins are so narrow, where I'd fancy Liverpool playing against Madrid. But as I said, they've got bottle and they've got heart, they've got quality, they've got options. That was the real Liverpool in the second half. There was a point, as Ali said there, where Villarreal was strong. But even Unai Emery, I think he would have said after the game, there's one or two players like Alejandro Moreno who were carrying injuries. And there was one or two others that just couldn't last the 90 minutes. So, yes, it'll give them a wake-up call. I don't think it'll affect the Premier League. They go into a game against Tottenham, he'll play his strongest side, and I expect Liverpool to go marching on.
Frank?
Yeah, I wanted to go with the guys, and while Don was speaking, about the fact that maybe it's better to play Real Madrid, in the final instead of Man City, I'm thinking yes, but that team won 13 times the Champions League, that they know how to win it, and they showed it against Chelsea, Paris Saint-Germain before, that they can play badly, and I mentioned it many times. I think Modric made an article saying that, yeah, we don't play well, but we have the spirit of winners, and we're going to keep on working hard with that, which is a big tool. Comparing to Man City, which never won the Champions League, which lost against Chelsea last season. So when they're going to reach the final, if City reaches the final, they're going to think, okay, we never won. We're going to play against a team who won 6 times. There is a psychological spirit that you have to take in count when you play a final. It can be a World Cup final, it can be a Champions League final. And when you play Madrid, they would have a hard time to win because they know how to win the last game. And that's what it is. You don't play a final, you don't play well, you just win it or you lose it.
Ali, who do you think Liverpool would prefer in the final?
I imagine that they would prefer Real Madrid because of all the reasons have already been mentioned. I think Liverpool can play a game at a different pace than Real Madrid can. And I think one of the things that Real Madrid fears is speed, because they don't have speed themselves, certainly through the midfield and certainly in the back line as well. But look at potential matchups. If indeed was Real Madrid that they were playing, okay, Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't defend, and doesn't defend very well at all. We saw that today again. Vinicius, looking at Trent Alexander-Arnold, 1v1 over distance, I'm saying if I'm Real Madrid, I like that. And the way that Karim Benzema is playing right now, I like him against whoever he's playing against. So there are certain matchups that Real Madrid would want, but I think on the whole, Liverpool would probably prefer to play against Real Madrid, given the fact that they have a big edge on speed and athleticism.
All right, Don, percentage chance they win the quadruple.
Oh, my days. I'm just sticking with what I've been saying for ages. 51-49. It's too tight. It's too hard to call.
Quadruple, there's so much talk about it, there's so much made of it. It's definitely within their sights. They're capable of doing this, aren't they?
Oh, they're capable of doing it, but what is the old saying? You got to be in it to win it, and they are. Look, they didn't think they were going to be in a Premier League title race because City, at one point, were a long way ahead. But Liverpool hit great form, and City stumbled a couple of times. That let them back in it. The other competitions, I think they're always capable. I mean, it's the third final now in 5 years in the Champions League, which is quite an incredible feat. So yeah, I mean, it can be done. I still think the Premier League. Got Tottenham at the weekend. It's in. The ball is still in Man City's court. So the odds are against them, but it would be an incredible achievement. I just think somewhere one of those, I don't know which one, that they'll just fall short of.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.